Well, next week, Clint Eastwood plays a hitman called out of retirement for one last mission. But there's an extra complication, as the sanction must take place during a climb on the notorious north face of the Eiger. The Saturday film, The Eiger Sanction, next week at 10:10. We're looking at some of our programmes tomorrow on BBC One at 4:35. There's a new day and a new time for the new season of Match of the Day, which kicks off tomorrow with Football League action from Spurs versus Nottingham Forest, Leicester versus Ipswich and Sheffield Wednesday against Newcastle. Later at 7:15, the Sunday film stars Kirk Douglas, Robert Mitchum and Richard Widmark in The Way West, the story of a wagon train of pioneers who set off on the hazardous Oregon Trail. At 9:15, Kelly Monteith takes another comic view of life, and that's followed at 9:45 by part 3 of Vera Britton's autobiography, Testament of Youth. After the news, the Sunday prom at 10:50 includes orchestrations by Ravel of piano pieces by Debussy and the Piano Concerto No. 2 by Chopin. Finally, at 11:40, highlights of the final of the Irish Open Golf Championship rounds off Sunday evening on BBC One. The weather prospects for tomorrow now from Jim Bacon.
Hello there. Well, after a fine day today brought about by this ridge of high pressure which has been over most parts of the country, I'm afraid we're going to find everything will change as this large area of low pressure brings its fronts eastwards. They're already bringing rain into the westernmost parts of Britain at the moment, and that rain will extend across to the eastern side of the country during the course of tomorrow. Beyond that, I think we'll find a change to showery weather coming in behind the cold front, which you can see marked on the chart there. The wind's becoming more westerly, and that I think will bring the showery conditions across to the whole of the country during the course of Monday. So a showery day for Monday, and then on Tuesday brighter and drier weather returning into the west once more as this ridge of high pressure comes along behind that. Well, the forecast chart for noon tomorrow shows how far that first set of fronts will have reached by then. You can see the main front crossing the central part of the country and that showery weather already returning to the westernmost districts. Well, on the chart for tonight, though, we've got to take care of the first band of rain, which is coming along on that front, and already some freshening winds too, particularly near those western coasts. It's bringing some quite misty weather and some rain into the westernmost parts of England, Wales and Northern Ireland, and that rain during the course of the night is going to spread slowly eastwards into some of the more central parts of the country. So far as eastern England and eastern Scotland is concerned, I think a fine, dry and by and large a fairly clear night too. With fairly light winds, we're once more going to find some patchy mist and fog forming inland, and you've already got one or two fog patches around these easternmost coasts. And then looking ahead to tomorrow, well, we're going to still have this band of rain settled down the middle part of the country, but by the morning already we'll have found brighter showery weather reaching the westernmost part. I think most of the showers are going to be in the northern and western corner of Britain, where I think they'll turn out to be quite heavy and prolonged, so rather more cloudy there. But the showers very few and far between, I think, in the southwest. The eastern side of the country, particularly the southeast, starting dry and bright, but eventually it will cloud up with some rain turning up there towards the end of the day, probably during the course of the afternoon and the evening as that front pushes slowly eastwards. These central areas eventually following that change to brighter conditions, although in common with the southwest, I think not quite so many showers there. Well, I've already done the outlook, and the long-range forecast continues this theme of fairly changeable weather throughout the rest of August, and it does look as though there is some promise of better weather coming along towards September, with, I think, the promise of drier, brighter and mainly dry weather. Well, that's all from me. A very good night to you.
A reminder that Radio 2 stays on the air throughout the night. At the moment, Bob Kilby is your host, and then at 2:02, there's Gavin Campbell with You and the Night and the Music. And a final time check, it's just coming up to 24 minutes past midnight. And from all of us here on BBC One, a very good night. Good night.